Hello and welcome to Euroasia. I am Zuleika Zaman. Here are your top stories from Europe and Asia of this week. London Met police officers are to start wearing cameras on their uniform as part of plans to boost transparency and accelerate convictions. Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Bernard Hogan-Ho explains why he believes cameras will help improving policing. The cameras are designed to capture evidence at crime scenes. A trial will see 500 devices distributed to officers across 10 London boroughs. Firearm officers will also use them in their training. But Jack Hart from the Freedom Association says the move means everyone is under suspicion. The pilot scheme comes following criticism of the force over the death of Mark Duggan at the hands of armed officers. Camden Borough is the first to start using the cameras, with further trials in Barnet, Bexley, Bromley, Brent, Croydon, Ealing, Havering, Hillingdon and Lewisham. Officers will store material from each incident and keep it on file for a month, unless it is required for evidential purposes. These devices will be shared amongst the Met's 31,000 officers. Patients in some NHS hospitals are receiving unsafe and unsatisfactory care because of staff shortages. Elderly patients are particularly at risk of being left in discomfort and distress, according to Dr. Peter Carter, the Chief Executive of the Royal College of Nursing. His warning comes as the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, known as NICE, prepares to issue draft guidelines to hospitals, stating nurses should ideally be responsible for no more than 8 patients at once. Failing to meet this ratio puts patients at increased risk of harm. One estimate is that 20,000 additional nurses could be needed to meet NICE's recommendations. NHS staffing levels have been criticised following the Mid-Staffordshire scandal, which uncovered evidence of increased mortality rates and serious neglect. NICE will issue final guidelines for adult inpatient wards in acute hospitals in England in July following a consultation. The Department of Health said administrative staff and managers had been cut since 2010, but there were 5,100 more nurses working on wards. David Cameron has released claims the global community is demanding the Nigerian government over its handling of the kidnapping of some 270 girls. The PM was asked about comments from a Nigerian government spokesman who said criticism of the government's response was unfair and patronising. Experts from the UK are helping the search for the schoolgirls kidnapped by militant Islamist group Boko Haram. The UK has said a small team will provide planning help and advice on coordination to the Nigerian authorities. Officials in the country have been criticised for the slow response to the kidnappings, but Doyin Okapu, a spokesman for the Nigerian presidency, said the government had put a lot of things in place to find the girls. The human rights group says it was told by credible sources that the military had more than 4 hours warning of the raid by Boko Haram militants. 53 of the girls escaped soon after being seized in Chibok on 14th of April, but more than 200 remain captive. The US and EU have condemned President Vladimir Putin's first visit to Crimea since Russia annexed the peninsula from Ukraine in March. The US State Department said the trip was challenging and unnecessary. The Kiev government called it a gross violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. Mr. Putin praised Crimea for joining Russia, as he marked the severe victory over the Nazis in World War II. As he visited, there were deadly new clashes in southeastern Ukraine. Ukraine's Interior Minister Arsen Avakov said at least 20 pro-Russian activists and a Ukraine security officer died in the clashes in the port of Mariupol. The government said there was a gun battle when pro-Russian activists tried to storm a police HQ. However, some local witnesses accused the security forces of opening fire on unarmed protesters who had entered the building. Local officials put the casualties at 7 dead and 39 injured. Crimea voted to join Russia in March in a referendum dismissed by Kiev and the West as illegal. Pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions are planning to hold succession referendums on Sunday. Shoppers must be told exactly how animals have been killed through clear labelling on food packaging. In a letter to the Telegraph, faith leaders suggest all menus and packets should specify how animals have been slaughtered, including for products that are not kosher or halal. However, in a letter to the Telegraph, Henry Gunwald QC, chairman of Sashita UK, the Jewish representative body, and Dr. Shuja Shafi, Deputy Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain, say that animals killed under religious rules are treated no worse than any others that are killed to be eaten. They add that food labels should specify whether an animal has been mechanically stunned before being slaughtered, and whether it has endured repeat stuns if the first attempt was ineffective. They should also be told the method of slaughter: captive bolt shooting, gassing, electrocution, drowning, trapping, clubbing, or any of the other approved methods. Apple is eager to buy headphone maker Beats Electronics for $3.2 billion. The Financial Times says the deal could be announced as early as next week, marking Apple's largest ever achievement. Founded by rapper and music producer Dr. Dre and fellow music producer Jimmy Iovine in 2008, the firm produces Beats by Dr. Dre headphones and also runs a music streaming service. Beats Electronics received a $500 million investment from Carrier Group last September, valuing the company at more than $1 billion. It has been reported that Apple is contemplating a Spotify-like on-demand music service. Barclays has confirmed around 20,000 job cuts under a new strategy that distances it from the casino banking, championed by former boss Bob Diamond. Barclays confirmed 14,000 positions will be axed across the group during 2014, around half of them in the UK. A further 7,000 positions will go in the investment bank up to 2016, but 2,000 of those losses are included in the 14,000 figure. The bank's actions place Mr. Jenkins' personal stamp on the group, signalling an end to the seemingly limitless ambition placed on the investment operation by his predecessor, Bob Diamond, who quit over the LIBOR rate wriggling scandal. Barclays said it now expected 30% of group profits to be made by the investment bank, down significantly from the average 50% it contributed under Mr. Diamond. Of the £115 billion placed in Barclays, non-core £90 billion of the toxic assets are from the investment bank. Those are the top stories of this week. Thank you for watching. Please join me again next week. Stay safe and Allah Hafiz.